I feel the need for speed.
When I look at the Kawasaki Ninja H2 SX SE, Motley Crue's Kickstart My Heart plays in my head. Forget defibrillators, just put these in hospitals, and when a patient goes into cardiac arrest, put him on one and wind it up. No wonder a character who is into thrills and pushing the envelope would choose this as his mount. Yes, technically Maverick's bike is the regular H2 and this is the touring version, but a supercharged 200 horsepower touring bike? Right. Only Kawasaki could have built this. And just like the GPZ ridden by Lieutenant Pete Mitchell, callsign Maverick, in the original Top Gun, this is the apex predator in the Japanese Speed Wars, a competition that Kawasaki has engaged in more enthusiastically than any other manufacturer. The last Honda entry in this contest was the Blackbird, which ran from 1996 to 2007. The most famous bike to enter it was the Suzuki Hayabusa, which came out in 1999 and almost brought down the wrath of governments around the world on the motorcycling industry. However, the absolutely most insane of these motorcycles was, of course, a Kawasaki. After producing the ZX-11, ZX-12R, and ZX-14, Kawasaki said the hell with it and just made the Ninja H2, basically a 200 horsepower supercharged superbike. Then they made the track-only H2R, and brace yourself for these numbers, gave it 310 horsepower and a 400 km/h top speed by cranking up the boost to 11. 400 km/h is about 250 mph for you Imperial types. And finally, because we're civilized folks here, and not just crotch rocket degenerates, they made this, the Ninja H2 SX SE Sport Tourer, the gentleman's hyperbike. This one only has 197 horsepower, 7 more than the current Hayabusa. What's it like to ride? Absolutely bonkers. Whack open the throttle and hang on, because this thing is different. I've ridden plenty of powerful bikes, but this is the first one I couldn't tap out. I never got to the point where I kept accelerating and eventually didn't feel the bike begin to run out of steam. Where normal sport bikes peter out, this one just accelerates harder. Tell you all about how this bike tours sport rides, handles monsoon weather, and attempts to bend space-time around itself in this video. And if you find this content valuable, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. I wasn't feeling the need for speed when I picked up the bike in torrential rain. In fact, I was a little worried about riding a 200 horsepower, 591 pound motorcycle on the highway for an hour and a half. Turned out I didn't need to worry in the least. Just popped it in rain mode and cruised home with no drama, keeping decently dry because of the sizable bubble fairing, the heated grips warming my hands, the tires and advanced traction control electronics, keeping the bike rock solid stable, and all this with the bike managing a good pace. And that's the story of the H2SX. It's basically two bikes in one. One, a very capable and civilized sport touring motorcycle. The other, basically the closest you can come on the road to fighter jet acceleration. So, because this is the apex sport touring motorcycle out there, let's go over its features. It has all of them. If you've heard of a new piece of technology on a motorcycle, the H2SX SE has it. It's got adaptive cruise control, adjustable for distance from the car in front of you, blind spot detection, and forward collision warning, which starts flashing when you approach something fast. And on this bike, you approach everything fast. I like the blind spot detection, as a flashing triangle on the mirror warns you if a vehicle is there, but I didn't much use the adaptive cruise. I like to use cruise control if the road in front of me is open. While in traffic, I prefer to control the throttle myself. The collision warning is useful as well, because this motorcycle gets up to obscene speeds in such deceptive calm that you may underestimate the speed at which you're closing on that semi up the road. The flashing lights remind you to hold the bike down. And that's another story of this bike. It's so smooth and chill that you may let your mind wander for a sec and find that you're suddenly doing half again the speed limit, but haven't noticed it yet because you don't feel like it's fast until you're twice the speed limit. Danger to your license. The bike has a few other features. Rider modes, sport, road, rain, and an adjustable manual mode, Quick shifter, slipper clutch, engine brake control, cornering lights, IMU-based lean-sensitive ABS and traction control, launch control, semi-active electronic suspension, adjustable for solo rider, rider with luggage, and rider with passenger, smartphone connectivity, keyless, tire pressure monitoring system, hold assist, and one of the nicest displays I've ever seen. This is the most advanced motorcycle I have ever ridden, and while I'm usually a fan of simplicity, when your right wrist has access to 197 horsepower and 101 pound-feet of supercharged torque, you need a nanny. Remember the early GSX-R 1000s that freaked people out with their 160 horsepower? They were a handful. This bike isn't. In fact, at lower revs, you're hard-pressed to tell the performance from the lower-spec Ninja 1000 SX, which I reviewed last year, video in the top right corner. It feels totally controllable, if a bit hefty. After you pass 8,000 RPM, you begin to expect the bike to start letting up. At 9,000, you're thinking, any time now, this thing will hit its limit. But it doesn't. It accelerates faster. At 10,000 RPM, you're feeling like Kawasaki installed a warp drive in this thing. And as you're about to hit light speed, if you're a sane person, you lose your nerve and make use of the excellent Brembo brakes which feel progressive without feeling grabby. So, riding impressions? I rode this thing lots in all conditions, so I've got a good idea of the behavior of this bike in a variety of environments. First, on the highway, this motorcycle is perfection. The weight keeps it stable in crosswinds, and the power literally allows you to go anywhere you want, anytime you want. At high speed, on a gradual bend, the H2SX holds its line like a train on rails. The bike also rides very nicely on a typical 2-lane and has unbelievable passing ability. It almost doesn't matter how long a line of cars is in front of you and how little room you have. You are getting by right now. For touring, the seating position is pretty comfortable. The pegs are high, and if you're very tall, your legs may feel cramped, but at a half inch under 6 feet without shoes, this bike fit me perfectly. The seat is flat, wide, firm, and comfortable and sits 32.9 inches off the ground. This must be in single rider mode, as it raises considerably when the shock adjusts to passenger mode. Brooke never rode the Uber Ninja, but at 6.5 inches could flatfoot on both sides. Now, while the H2SX SE is quite comfortable for the rider, I find that none of these sport bike type sport tourers are very comfy with a passenger. From the back seat, Brooke found that she had a great view of the road ahead. However, she was perched so high that any downhill or braking sent her toward me and sent my unmentionables into the tank. Honestly, none of the sport tours that resemble sport bikes are great at carrying a passenger. They can do it, but if you ride with a passenger a lot, the Concourse or the Versys 1000 are far better choices. The H2SX and Ninja 1000 SX are all day comfortable, for one. So, what is it like to ride a 200 horsepower, almost 600 pound supercharged sport touring motorcycle on a twisty road? Surprisingly easy. Don't get me wrong, this thing ain't nimble and side-to-side transitions take some muscle. But I honestly thought that ripping this thing down my favorite twisty roads would be terrifying. And it totally wasn't. I suppose that the awareness that there is a sophisticated computer and 6-axis IMU looking out for you should you need saving filled me with some confidence. You're not diving into the corners on the H2SX the way you would on a 900cc naked bike, but whatever corner speed you lose, you'll just make up in the next straight. So the twisties do not in fact feel like you're going into the danger zone. I rode them faster than I thought I could on such a hefty bike, and 1 gear lower than on smaller motorcycles. Because the Ninja is geared super high for all-out speed, you end up riding it in a lower gear than any other bike. Twisty road at brisk speeds, stick it in third and forget it. It feels like an electric vehicle. Having said that, you have to be deliberate and plan ahead. This much mass wants to keep moving in a straight line, and bending that line requires some muscle and body English. To sum up the things I liked about the fanciest Ninja of them all, the seat was great for one, the suspension is magic, smooth roads, rough roads didn't matter, the bike is always composed and confidence inspiring, the heated grips work really well and look integrated, the LCD is super nice and contains a wealth of info, including the amount of boost being generated by the supercharger, the rider interface is intuitive, I just figured it out without having to watch a ton of tutorials. The bike looks super upscale with gorgeous paint that shimmers in the sunlight, and the brakes are first class, though with this much power they'd better be. Oh, and even though the bike I had didn't come with saddlebags, I've used the bags before on the Ninja 1000 SX and found them roomy and nice looking. I particularly like the mounting system that doesn't require unsightly hardware to hold up the bag. They'll fit a full face helmet and will lock in place in case you want to go walkabout. The only issue I had with the ones on the smaller Ninja was that they were a bit finicky to take off. Are there any dislikes? If you want light, the regular H2 or the Ninja 1000 SX are both considerably lighter. The H2 SX SE is sporty in the way a Dodge Viper is sporty. It won't outrun a 911 on a twisty road. Being nitpicky, the mirrors were partially obscured by my shoulders. And as mentioned before, a 2-up tourer this ain't. Take a passenger across town, not across the continent if you want to stay on good terms. Every manufacturer has its flagship aspirational model, and this is it for Kawasaki. A rolling display of the latest and greatest tech that the company has developed. And the price reflects that. $31,500 Canadian dollars for the SX SE I-Road and $27,800 for the base SX without the electronic suspension. According to the US website, US customers only get the SX SE, which costs $27,500 American dollars. It's not for everyone, and a plebe like me will never spend this much money on a toy. If I was looking for a bike like this, the Ninja 1000 SX at less than half the price better fits my budget. But there are those fortunate souls for whom price is no object, and if you happen to be one of them and are looking for the ultimate in sport touring, I have your bike right here. I don't usually sound so complimentary and may get accused of shilling here, but I have to give this one its due. There are pluses and minuses to everything, but having ridden this thing for a week, I can confirm that you get what you pay for. As much as I like simplicity and affordability, it's cool to see how the other half lives. You could say that this bike takes your breath away. Okay, I'll stop now. What do you think of this technological tour de force? Is this the perfect sport tour? Please share your thoughts in the comments and tour safe. If you're interested in any of the gear that Brooke and I wear or use, or the camera equipment we use to film this channel, the links are below. Everything listed there was bought with our own money and we are not sponsored by any company. However, the links below are affiliate links and the channel is paid a small amount for referring you to shop at no additional cost to you. We do not recommend any products that we are not satisfied with ourselves, but we do strongly urge you to do your research and select the correct size for items like helmets and clothing. As always, thanks for watching, your support is greatly appreciated. Please hit that subscribe button, give the video a thumbs up, and leave a comment below. And whatever you ride, enjoy it. Wave at other bikers no matter what they're riding. We're all part of a brotherhood and sisterhood. Keep the rubber side down, shiny side up, and may the spokes be with you.